Xbox has games. That's it. After today's showcase, there is no more argument for Xbox doesn't have games. They don't have any exclusives or whatever. Yes, they are being cross-platform in terms of their next-gen system, but in terms of the games that they are producing, today, it was just a list of, guess what? This is an exclusive to our platform, this is, and this is, and this is, and now they are gonna have like the biggest launch in, I think, any console's history. But let's talk about the show and why I thought it was a really good show, but it was definitely not a great one. Before we get into it though, what was your least favorite moment of the show and what was your most favorite? I'd love to know that in the comments, or if you're looking at other people's highlights, then maybe like what piece of news is your least interested and most interested. Want to see that in the comments below. So yeah, there was no introduction to this show or anything. They just kicked it off with Halo Infinite, and that was a real surprise to me because I thought they would end the show with that. I need to simmer on this for a bit longer, I really do, because I am so uncertain about that Halo Infinite demonstration we got. I don't feel disappointed by it and I don't feel impressed by it. I'm just kind of like at a middle ground that, yes, I wish was more, but I'm just like, I don't know. This is the thing to really launch the Series X with, and it just doesn't look or feel like a next-gen game to me, even though it's because it's, you know, being made to run on the original Xbox. But man, this just wasn't a great first showing of the game, in my opinion, because I think it's confirmed that it doesn't have ray tracing, so there's that, and just other things. I just don't think Halo Infinite was at a good place to show at the show, but that's not good because the game is right around the corner. There's so many thoughts I can get into about Halo Infinite that honestly is going to be its own video. I just want to simmer it with it a bit more because I'm just really unsure of myself. And I was really concerned because if they're going to start with Halo Infinite, what's going to be in the rest of the show? Boy, was I not disappointed. They instantly surprised us with a lot of their first party stuff and just State of Decay, Undead Labs. I was not expecting them to show up here, but they did. They did what all of us thought would be, which is announcing a new motorsport, which interestingly enough, it doesn't have an 8 on it, which is kind of interesting to me. And I'll tell you what, the look at the motorsport thing, if that's running an engine, that looks very impressive. And what's interesting is that they really kicked this show off right off the bat by going, look, this is our first party stuff. You got Forza coming, you got State of Decay coming, you got Everwild. They showed us a good cinematic trailer for Everwild. I'm a little bit disappointed with cinematic because last year they showed what looked to be like an in-engine trailer. So I'm like, why would you do a cinematic one second? I feel like the cinematic one should have been first and then a better engine one should have been here. Obsidian came up with 3 freaking announcements. Granted, one of them is just an expansion for Outer Worlds. Almost said Outer Wilds. Another one is, of course, I guess to promote Grounded coming out next week, which I'm a little bit disappointed that they did just because, you know, it's like, okay. But the big note that they're like, look, so these are the 2 things that we've been working on, but we got one big project that we're working on. We'll give you an announcement and look at that. And they did. And it was just a cinematic trailer, but still, it gives me this feel that Obsidian is going to make this really big RPG, which they're great at. Obsidian is one of the most credited studios that Xbox has now. And I do not doubt that their next game, which is called AVOWED, which, interesting name, I have no doubt that that game's gonna be freaking awesome. Double Fine was there as predicted with Psychonauts 2, which doesn't really surprise me, and I am not like a fan of Psychonauts, but I know it's a cult classic and people were really excited for it. But this was the trailer that actually got me, you know what? If I get it with Game Pass, a platformer for Xbox. Granted, the game is going to be on PlayStation as well, but in the future, we could expect stuff like this from Double Fine on Xbox exclusive. First party wise, I wasn't disappointed by anything except for Ninja Theory, and I don't get why they were here with the way they did it. They were literally there just to say, hey, we're working on Hellblade 2. Bye. Like, we already knew that, so why even be here? I figured Hellblade 2 wasn't really at a stage to show because they want to work with the Unreal 5 engine, but like, if you're not going to show Hellblade 2, then what about Project Mara? Like, they're working on that, so why not just give an actual trailer to that game instead of the teaser that we have for it? The big surprise of the show to me was just exclusive. Xbox, the platform, you know, and it's a big platform being PC, Xbox Ones, Series X's, and xCloud. The Xbox platform has a lot of games coming at you from just other partners that they have. Tell Me Why isn't exclusive by the people that did Life is Strange, to which I respect that studio a lot, and gosh darn it, does Tell Me Why just look like a huge step up for them. They're updating their indie scene, like Ori is gonna get a Series X update where it has like 120 frames per second, and there's also Ask Dusk Falls. I think it's another studio that they're going to be working with, Interior/Night Studio, and that's cool. Another game that looks somewhat indie to me was The Gunk. I thought that actually looked like an interesting kind of sci-fi, another platformer for Xbox, and this one actually is exclusive. But then we got a lot of sequels and surprises like Stalker 2. Stalker 2, I am not aware of the Stalker franchise, but I was surprised to see my live stream chat actually kind of exploded at that one. Warhammer Dark Tide, another franchise I'm not well acquainted with, but a expansion sequel or something for Xbox players. A very long-awaited sequel for Phantasy Star Online, and that kind of rounded out this showcase. Another thing I want to say is that this showcase was really rounded out. It had racing, it had shooters, it had RPGs, it had horror, because another game that was there was Medium, so Medium had, you know, the horror aspect covered, and maybe Stalker as well. Again, not well versed in that franchise. The Phantasy Star Online 2, that was actually a neat thing to round out on the kind of JRPG aspect of it. And there was stuff in the pre-show as well, like Pal in Wonderland from Square Enix. I'm also super interested in Crossfire, which I guess is already a game. It's kind of like one of those situations that it's not exactly an exclusive. The coolest part about the show, other than exclusive, was that like 90% of these games, if not all of them, are available to play at launch on Game Pass. You what? That's insane. If you're a Game Pass person, you don't have to buy any of these games. They just come with you wherever you go, and literally wherever you go, because they even mentioned again, xCloud is going to be a thing by the time Series X launches, so you could take these games on the go with you and just play them whenever, wherever, as long as you're a Game Pass Ultimate user. And it was a wide catalog of things to choose from. The one problem with the show that some people had that I can totally understand is they didn't really talk about the distant future too much. I mean, Obsidian's next game, Avowed, is a good glimpse of that, and also they ended the show with a big note, and I was really worried, like, what are they going to close it with if it's not Halo? Well, they announced a new freaking Fable, that game that we all, like, a lot of people inside that are reporting on this stuff, it was like the worst kept secret. So yeah, that was real, and Playground Games is actually doing it just as everybody thought. So that's really cool to see that old game revived. They probably have a lot of things that they are keeping close to the chest, but you know, it was all very nearby stuff. I personally don't mind, but I can see some people having a problem with that. PlayStation has a very big habit of that. You know, they'll announce a game that's 2 years from now, or they have no idea when it's supposed to be released, and sometimes you are just kind of left in limbo wondering when that game's gonna come out. I'm gonna look to Last of Us 2 for that one. Nonetheless, games in the far off distance do generate hype, and I feel like there could have been just one more of those here, just one more. But who knows, maybe they're keeping some of that close to the chest for an event that they're gonna have next month. I still think this was a really freaking solid show. It was not a great one because their flagship didn't really blow people away, it seems like. And I would argue, other than Fable, there wasn't any big like mic drop moments, but it accomplished a goal I think Xbox had with this show, being you can't say we don't have games anymore. We got a shit ton of games. And guess what? You can play all these games day one on Game Pass. Yes, they touched upon games we already knew about, but honestly, they even left a few out that they could have talked about, but they didn't. It wasn't an amazing show, but I would say it was really freaking solid good. You can see my initial reactions to the side of me in which I just kind of highlighted all of my initial responses to all the announcements and stuff. And stay tuned because I do want to make a video about that Halo Infinite reveal. I just need time to simmer with it. So check out that video and let me know what you thought of the show in the comments below.